Hello, everybody. Here we are good to go before we get started. Forever, like always. I think we're good now. All right. There we go. I hear my silly self talking right there. So I think we will be good to roll here, which is always a good thing. So say hello, everybody. Hello. I want to, as you see in the chat, I want to kind of be able to. What's up, Katana? How are you doing? I want to be able to kind of stress here what I'm going to be talking about. What's up, Mr. Nelson? How you doing? But one thing I wanted to stress here was the stuff we're going to be kind of talking about. Just look in the chat. You'll see it. I'm circling it here too. Just dealing with the difference between a population and sample. Dealing with like I said, understanding what makes up a good representative sample. This is more of a vocab driven kind of session here to kind of go along with yesterday. But the one thing I wanted to do on this is I wanted to be able to um, I want to be able to kind of provide a real world example. I've seen it. I don't know if maybe no, it's not Pearson. Don't worry. Up here real quick. I had this thing up, and it kept kicking into like the live version of the video, and it was like it was so ridiculous. But uh, I said, "What's going on, Norel? How you doing? How you doing, man? Sure, we're good. All right, there we go." So I don't know how many of you have actually, and I'm going to make sure I'm off the screen as we kind of go through this. I don't know how many of you have actually kind of pay attention to any of this stuff when it comes to any type of polling and statistics and video and all that kind of good stuff. But in in my instance, in this, and a lot of like maybe your aunts, uncles, parents, grandparents, they pay attention to a lot of what you see in like the media, and you see in the media, and again, this is going to be a lot more of like a vocabulary type of instance with this, but this is definitely good to see because this goes right along with what we were talking about yesterday. If you're wondering, WKBN is local to my area. WKBN is a Trumbull County station. Article. If you look at this and it says, well, the poll shows Ohioans support DeWine. They worry about the timing of reopening. And it says on here, a new poll shows 70% of Ohioans prioritize public health over the economy. Now, you guys are middle school students, but I don't know how much of national media you guys see, but in in my instance, a lot of times I see a lot of them back up. With everything going on, things have been shut down, obviously. That they want to be able to. And you see that in the media. You see that a lot of times that they're getting this information about what's going on that's going on out there. But I always like to look at this and say, well, they're putting this guys here on these people that are protesting and all that kind of good stuff. And look here, 70% of Ohioans prioritize public health over the economy. Okay, here's my question to you, those of you who are kind of following along with me. Okay, again, I'm going more kind of civics with this, but again, it's tying in polling and statistics and math and kind of like opening your brain. I tell you guys a lot during class, like open your brain, like think about things. Like don't just be narrow-minded with things. Say like, let's open this up and think, well, you're seeing things about protests and opening up, but yet why is it that a new poll shows that the 70% of Ohioans prioritize public health? What does that mean? What is the inference we're going to get on this? And that's what I'm going to be talking about here in a little bit. What do you like? If you see it, does that? And you can tell me yes or no in the chat there. But doesn't make any sense, right? Let me know. Let me know what you think on that in the chat. Again, it's my personal belief, but again, it's kind of trying to pull in a real world example into that. Um, Again, the article yesterday. So, and it talks about how, the gradual opening, and it tells you a poll conducted by Baldwin Wallace University shows 85% of voters in Ohio approve of DeWine's handling of the pandemic. 85%. 85%. That's a lot of people with that. So, and here's the thing: you see this thing about protests and everything. It's an increase of 5 points from the March Great Lakes poll. Please tell me, does that make sense? Does that make sense with what you see in the media a lot of times? Let me know. Let me know in the chat. Let me know what you think. So we're going to get into the specifics of the actual university survey here, but I found it quite interesting. Am I frozen? I swear, am I frozen right now? Oh my God. Am I frozen, guys? Okay, I'm having on my app. I'm having the wheel of death. Sorry, I kind of was in a groove there, and I got I kind of stopped. Good grief! You can see my YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. So dear, I'm sorry about that there. Um, as you can kind of see right here. Again, sorry. Let me get back into what I was talking about. So we're dealing with the percentage here, okay? Again, you can have your own thoughts, you can have your own beliefs. Like I said, you can have your own thoughts, your own beliefs, but again, for me, in my sense, I look at this and I say, well, they're putting this guys on this effort, and it's like, well, wait a second. According to what polling takes place right here, 85, the majority of people say he's doing good with what he's doing. Again, let's get into the actual specifics of this though. So we talked yesterday, and I'm going to open up the actual. If you clicked on that link, you will open up the actual PDF file right here, and it looks like this. And it looks like the Baldwin Wallace University Ohio poll. And I'm going to zoom in for those of you who don't have that access right there. I am actually going to be. I don't know how much you can see. I'm going off on my chat, so bear with me on this. I'm going to try my best to kind of go back and take a look at some of these. There we go. Okay, cool, cool. Okay, so I'm talking about the poll. Now we talked yesterday about dealing with when you're finding a question. The question I think we dealt with was in a town there was 2,400. There was 2,468 people in a town, and they were wondering if they wanted to build a new stadium. They wanted to build a new stadium. Well, the question was the two people who are dealing with the survey, they wanted to try to find out before the actual vote happened whether or not it's going to, like, people wanted to do this or not, whether or not they're going to vote. And you see this all the time about polling and statistics and all that kind of stuff. This is all about statistics here. So the 2,468, and again, I think it was registered voters in that. That is your population on this. Okay, the actual who you're trying to survey. You're not going to survey 6 and 7 year olds to find out whether or not they want to build a new stadium or not. You're not going to survey infants and toddlers, and in the instance, even though you guys might want this, you're not going to survey middle school students or elementary students to be able to sit there and say, well, are you going to, do you want to build a new stadium? The actual population is dealing with those who have the actual, the say so, and people who are going to vote. I'm hoping kind of getting across what I'm hoping there. So the population is the pool. I look at it as like saying the pool. So if you had a little pool here, the population is the entire pool of people you're drawing from. And the question you want to find is instead of sampling the 2,468 people, You want to be able to do the efficient way possible. And that's where you come up with finding a sample. You're going to find a sample of that amount. So you're going to take this little bit, so this little bit of that pool, and I think in the term yesterday it was dealing with 100 people. 100 people was your sample. You're taking again vocab. A sample of it. You're taking a sample. You're taking a sample, a spoonful sample. If you're going to a store when everything opens up, you're taking a sample of something. You're not taking the whole thing. You're taking a little bit of this. But to take what we were talking yesterday as let me clear this off, was a representative sample. So I think if you talk about a representative sample, representative, and I'll just to save my typing on this, a representative sample, you need that sample to represent your your actual population. What does that mean? Remember the way to do this was so that it is a random sample for one. I think they said that one of the terms was to be able to, they would assign all these numbers and then be able to pick random numbers, and that's the way you would do it. You're not going to go out and say, well, I'm going to just take the first 10 people I see in the street and say, well, that's going to be my, sample that I'm taking. I hope I'm getting across what I'm trying to get here, but let me get into the actual PDF just for time's sake. And I'm trying to look at my phone, and if you can see my phone, it's giving it's giving that. I'm going, good grief. Let me check real quick. Doing okay here in the chat. Let me know. I'm kind of going blind here, so go here. Let's get right into this. Here. So if you ever look at an actual bit of polling data, and you can go through this and you can look at all these different breakdowns. There was 50 questions that was done. When it comes to sampling and when it comes to taking any type of a population, you want to scroll down, and this is one thing too. Let's actually focus real quick. Keep this in mind right here. The sample size. The sample size was 797 people in the survey. Okay, 797 people in this survey is what was sampled. Now, one thing and you'll learn this as you get into higher statistics classes, you would deal with margin of error. You will deal with, I think we'll talk about, the confidence factor and things. Things get very, very, very in depth. I want to go all the way down real quick. So if you go all the way down to the last, it's the methodological notes. And you look at this and it says this survey, so here you go. The survey was conducted online among self-identified registered voters. So since I don't have my chat really up here, what would be your population when it comes to this survey? Your population is your self-identified registered voters in Ohio. So self-identified registered voters in Ohio. And you'll see a lot of times now people are using, obviously they're using, certain computer programs. And I said, like in this, Qualtrics, which is an online sample aggregator. And the way they determine this, they say that sampled individual, and this is what we were talking about yesterday when it comes to the steps to be able to find that specific random sample. Sampled individuals were emailed by Qualtrics and responded using a personalized link to the survey in this. So here you go. Here's our vocab term. To achieve a representative sample in their belief on this, the representative sample of the self-identified registered voters in Ohio, they randomly selected respondents for surveys where respondents are highly likely to qualify. And you can continue and read on through all this kind of good stuff here. It talks about how the survey included quotas for age, education, gender. The quota for age was based on the 2016 voting and registration supplement. Responses in this survey were weighted by gender, race, ethnicity, household income, and education to be representative of each state's population. Each person has a random chance of getting this email, of getting this, of getting this here. And again, this is what I was talking about here. We talk about confidence levels, your factors, and all this kind of stuff. Which it gets fun with all this stuff. There's actually ways in which they come across with confidence factors that they think, well, they have a 95% confidence level that they believe this is what it is. This margin of error assumes that the weighted estimates are approximately unbiased. This assumption implicitly relies on the assertion that any differences between the survey sample and the target population, so no analysis was conducted to validate this assertion. So again, the sample size and margin of error. And again, you can go through this, but look, this terminology that we were talking about here is have a little fun with this now. Let's have a little fun. Let me check to make sure everything's going good here. So like time. Let me see. So like time. Yeah. I mean, it's just kind of like dealing with their instance. Their way of sampling people were to say, well, we're sending out a link, and I think I actually have it specified here. That here you go. The way that they got it. Potential respondents. So potential respondents. I don't know why I'm pointing there. Receive an email invitation to participate, which informs them that the survey is for research purposes only, how long the survey is expected to take, and what incentives are available. They give them incentives. Incentives include, cash, airline miles, gift cards, and so on and so forth, to avoid self-selection bias, which is something that, again, the survey invitation does not include specific details about the contents. So meaning people are they've gotten this invitation to do this survey. They were randomly selected to do a survey. But what self-selection bias means, well, DeWine is a Republican, GOP. If I was someone who totally was on the other political spectrum of things and I absolutely did not like what he was doing, I'm going to go on there and I'm going to answer everything wrong and I'm going to sit there. That's self-selection bias with that. If I'm someone who is on the GOP side, Republican, all that kind of stuff, and I love him and everything he's doing is 100% good, I'm going to go on there and give him great grades, great ratings with this. Okay, I hope that's understanding. I hope that kind of makes a little bit of sense. Let me actually do it this way so I can see any chat. Do it like this. There we go. Am I doing good here in the chat? Let me know here. Doing good meaning you can hear and see me. Hoping I'm not frozen and just talking to myself, But let's take a look at some of these questions. So I'm not going to go through every single one. Obviously, there's 50 crazy questions on this. I want to go to, in this instance, go to page 17. Let's see. And you can break down, like I said, you can break down everything. Okay, cool. Okay, thank you. I just want to make sure because I want to kind of show a stark difference with things. So let's go with page 17. See, this is the question that you see, and again, if you ever see a polling question on anything, you can sit there and try to find the actual methodology of doing it. This is called the methodology of doing things. It breaks it down. It's crazy to see it. I mean, it really is. This is what they see. See, we see right here. It says, so now we have some questions about how Governor Mike DeWine. Do you approve or disapprove of the way Governor DeWine is handling everything that's going on with this? And you look at this and you say, I would focus just for right now on the highlighted information on this. Okay. If you look at the highlighted information on this instance, you can look and you can see that the assumption, and this is easy to say on this instance, it goes different from the book. If I'm going to go, I want to give kind of like a real quick thing about the extra section in the book. They talk about dealing with distributions and dealing with dot plots, and there's dot plots. You would see like dots, and you have to see, well, what assumption can you make on this? Just consider this, what you're seeing right here, kind of the same way as you're seeing a dot plot. It's just a different way of exhibiting statistical data. It makes somewhat sense. Um, real quick, but if you look at this and you see, and this is where the meat that WKBN article, gets this, and they say, well, those that somewhat approve and those who strongly approve, take 29.3 plus your 55.7. Like that's over, they said that's over 80 something, 80, it's like almost 85%, like they were saying. Like it's 85%. 85% of people, you can sit there and you can make, and this is what we go, if you go way back to what I was saying in the beginning, these inferences on this, on these inferences that you can see. You can make an inference from this statistical data, and that's what the article did. The article is going to say, well, 85% of people approve of how he's doing. 85% of that. And you can break it down. You can say, well, out of even Democrats, how he's doing. Okay. You can go into age groups here. I mean, and that again, look at the majority. Am I really frozen? How about now? Am I good now? How about now? Okay. Sorry. I know I'm trying to get through as much as I can here. Um, like I said, if you can tell, I personally like this. I like statistics. I like statistical data, going through and breaking things down and being able to, find the different age groups. How do different age groups believe? I mean, it goes through and it breaks everything down. Now, here's the stark difference. And I'm not gonna, let's see here, stark difference. Let's get rid of this. And you can look up here and you can say, well, let's go up. Let's do this. Let's go down. So number 13 on this would say you look at that, everything, 85%. Great, great, great. So if you looked at this statistical data and said, well, in handling that coronavirus, do you believe that Governor DeWine acted too quickly, acted at the appropriate time, or waited too long to act? And across the board, like I said, across the board, it says he acted at the appropriate time. I mean, I mean, it's in the data here, guys. I mean, it's in the data. I like to look at a lot of this stuff and kind of sit there and say, well, again, I encourage you. I encourage you to go through a lot of this because it's like I think there's a part on this where it talks about it's question 20. Let me see if I can find it really quick. Here you go. Who do you trust? What Governor DeWine has on this? I mean, and you can look here and you can look at that part right there where it says the party ID. Okay, that's where it's going to be a little bit differently. Governor DeWine is Republican, but yet 81% of who was surveyed, 81% of Democrats surveyed believe that, or 81% of Democrats will trust Governor DeWine over President Trump with this. Again, it's interesting stuff. I mean, you can go through. I think there's a part that says, well, who? I mean, I can get through. I can get. Here's one that kind of goes. I'll end with this. Do you agree or disagree? Since we're into this, since we're obviously part of this part here, do you agree or disagree with Governor DeWine's decision to close K-12 schools to the end of the 2019 to 2020 academic year? Okay, look at this breakdown right here. Look at this breakdown. If you look at this, and you see, you look at this and you say, 65.2% strongly agree out of everybody that was surveyed. Okay, out of everybody that was surveyed, 20.7 somewhat agree. If you were to add that up and you say, well, 85.9% of people that are surveyed believe that he made the right, they agree with that decision. I mean, just think about that as you you look at the kind of what you see. Again, open your mind, think of things, go through the data. The data doesn't lie. I mean, the data doesn't lie on this. People are very, you can make, and I guess I'll close with saying this, you can be able to, when you look at data like this, make what you call inferences. And this is what I talked about before, inferences. You can make assumptions. You can make what we call valid inferences with this. I told you before, I said this is very vocab heavy with this, but um, like these guys, in this instance, if you were to look at a yes and yeah, exactly. And it's like you can look at this, and make the assumption or make the inference that the majority of Ohioans agree with what he did. Most majority of Ohioans agree with what he did. Um, you can say that a majority of, let's see, I mean, it's even on both. Like, it's just that if you were to draw like a graph to go over it, like this is almost, if you were to draw a side graph here, and you were to say, well, there's 20 and there's 65, and it's like, I mean, it's interesting to look at. Statistics are fun. Statistics are interesting. Statistics. I will tell you that if we were all together in class, we would break this down even more. Um, I mean, there's a part where this is like 50. This is like 50 questions on this. Um, it breaks it down like crazy. There's a part where I think it says, "Do you get your news from like Twitter, Facebook?" I believe it's down question 50. I just want to find it real quick and then I'll get going. But like, it's real crazy some of this stuff. It's, a fair amount. Let's see, it breaks down the questions. I think it's. Let's find it real quick. Guys, I thank you for staying with me on this. I hope this kind of makes a little sense about statistics, statistics and anything of that sort. I'm here for any help with any of the questions from the Blizzard packets, from the packets you guys got, the packets I linked to, all that kind of good stuff. Um, Please, I'm more than happy to answer any questions. Please email me, reach out, Google Classroom. I'm more than happy to create a subsequent video to cover any questions from the packets. Please, there's no question is a bad question. Reach out. I hope that kind of gives a little bit of a different look at things, different than just going through Pearson and doing that stuff. It's a little more interactive. I hope. On that. With that being said, I hope you guys will stay safe. I'm going to get off of here and get ready for eighth grade real quick. Um, have a good day, guys. Stay safe.